All right, fastest 15 minutes in social media, fastest 15 minutes on the internet. My name is Judson Powell. Please hit the like button, please hit the subscribe button, please hit all the buttons for me, and I appreciate that. All right, want to jump right in and continue talking about reparations, and want to continue to talk about universal law a little bit as well. So I want to talk about the law of universal oneness, the fact that everything in the universe, like if you're learning about universal law, the first thing that you have to realize is that everything in the universe is connected. And so when you do something or whatever to people or to the land or to nature or whatever you affect, there's an effect that it's going to take on everybody else, whether you realize it or not, or whether you, like people who say that all of this stuff is BS or whatever. That's all well and fine, but it's all provable. It's fact. It's not, it's not, oh, I believe that this is how it is. It's actually fact, and we can prove it. All right. So that's why I try to tell everybody that, that slavery and the effect of slavery and the effect of Jim Crow and the effect of the fake Christian and fake Muslim religions is devastating to everybody on earth, because there's like people over all of that time. You got to understand, that's why I stopped getting mad at people who like are into religion and stuff like that. I stopped getting mad at them. I used to be into religion too, but then once I realized that, hey, and I kept studying. See, the thing is that most people don't study. All right, most people, they just take whatever pastor tells them, whatever the imam tells them, whatever the Baba tells them, whoever their religious guru is, they just take that and they believe it, and they don't ever move on. And so, and they never learn, and they never change. Okay, in fact, they get more indoctrinated because there's so much false doctrine related to religion that people get more and more and more and deeper and deeper and deeper. So we actually, at this point, as speaking of Africans who or Alkebulans that are here in America, we are so indoctrinated that 400 years, almost 500 years of stuff that we've been taught, and that we were enslaved, and then we were beaten, and we were lynched, and we were all of these different things in order to fall for the indoctrination. And if we didn't, we were even killed. And the same thing, and actually here's the other thing. In actuality, the same thing was true for white folks. If you were under the crown of England or under the crown of France or Spain or Portugal, you had to believe in Jesus. You didn't have a choice. The guillotine, look, in France, the guillotine was basically, anybody, if you didn't believe in Jesus, boom, you got the guillotine. But then again, go to all of the places there, and what do you see? You see Egyptian symbology everywhere. And why is that? The reason is because all of that was stolen and then hidden, and only the aristocracy. You have to remember, in the days when the King James Bible was first being written, and in fact, even before then, when the first Bibles were written, in Turkey at the Hagia Sophia, we know that it was illegal for common people to read the Bible. Well, see, the difference that we have as time moved on, once we got into the modern era, it's like then we had books and we had printing presses and all of that, so anybody can read the Bible. Right now you can go online and read the Bible. Well, back in the 14, 15, 1600s, you couldn't do that. You might get killed for reading the Bible if you had a copy, if you could get a copy. You see what I'm saying? So now we have so many espoused views because of the fact that it's easily obtainable. The information is, but it's false information. Because the people who are in control, they don't use that information in order to keep control. they don't use it in order to control their affairs, I should say. So when it comes down to what they do and the things that they practice, they don't do it. And so once again, like I tell people, like, okay, you have the universal law of grace. Okay, I got into a little, one of my friends posted something about about grace from a religious standpoint, and I was like, grace is a universal law. It has nothing to do with religion. They could put it into religion because of the fact that it's true. It's a scientific fact. Okay, and everybody's like, oh, Jesus is grace. No, Jesus is not grace. The universe is grace. Why? Okay, let's take, for example, the murder, the heinous murder of Emmett Till. All right, and I can't think of the lady's name, the lady who lied on him, right? And finally, after all these years, she admitted that she lied. Well, if there was actually some type of punishment that the universe was going to dole out, okay, it didn't dole it out to her. All of these people that live like full lives here in the earth plane, and it's happened more than once. Just like slave masters were not afraid of any god that was going to kill them. They were beating slaves, they were killing them, castrating them, cutting off their limbs, doing all kinds of stuff to slaves. Well, were they in fear that something was going to happen to them? No, they never feared it, because it doesn't exist. And when I told you the other day about the concept of purgatory, the concept of hell and of heaven and of all those things are you. And the Catholic Church, the Roman Catholic Church, they knew that. So that's why they used those things in order to make money. All of the artifacts, look at all the artifacts that are in museums all across the world, and most of those artifacts come from Africa. But we're told that everything in Africa is either evil or sinful, or and it all comes down to the vernacular that's used in order to describe, or once again the codus inscriptus, the way that they framed everything in order to make it look one way, but they were never practicing the way that they made it look to you. All right, because they weren't afraid of God. How could you sink a whole ship full of humans? Set it on fire and sink it in the middle of the ocean. How could you split up people's families when you knew that because they understood that the center of the spiritual universe was the family. The center of the spiritual universe is Heru, Aset, and Asar, the original Trinity. That's the center of the spiritual universe. And once you destroy that, and anybody that tries to destroy that or whatever, they understand that, hey, I can spiritually destroy you. Why? Because of the law of universal oneness. They're all connected. You can't do something to mama and it's not going to affect the children and daddy. Just like you can't do something to daddy and it's not going to affect the children, which is what they did, because they had a patriarchal society. They did, and they were consumed by by sexual prowess and all that kind of stuff. So they wanted to make sure that they kept the men in the forefront, and that had a certain effect. So everything that's been done throughout slavery, throughout Jim Crow, throughout everything else has always been to remove the man, because without a man in the picture in a patriarchal society, it won't work. So, and I remember looking at that, looking at one of those pictures from the protests, right? And there's a little kid holding up a sign saying, "You kill our daddies, you do all this stuff to our daddies, and then you laugh at us for not having a daddy." And that's one of the things. And all the systems in white supremacy and in white nationalism are set up to destroy the man. Every single system, welfare, food stamps, all of that, because it's easy. Look, it's easy for a woman to say, "I don't need you, get out," if I know that I got somebody else that'll take care of me. But see, before that, that's why we had strong families, back in the day before all these systems existed. Before these systems exist, and then the countries that don't have these type of systems. And the other thing is, and then when you look at mass incarceration, and you look at, and you look at like almost 80% of descendant men of Africa have been either in jail or under the auspices of the judicial system at some point in their lives. It's ridiculous. And then in my situation, they don't even think about child support or anything like that. Your life is over. Well, if you're not smart, but for the most part, most people, and the statistics prove that children who grow up on welfare, on child support, and all that, they end up poor. So you take, like I was talking to my boy the other day, it's like, yeah, you take $350,000. Okay, I got, college degrees and all that. So why would you take $300,000 from me, who I know how to build with $300,000, and give it to somebody who has no clue on how to build? And see, because I'm a master builder. I'm a master. I'm not. So why would you, so even when they do these things, they don't think, or they do think, they think of how can we destroy it. So it comes, but they don't fear that destruction. They don't fear sin. Just like we talk about the concept of sin all the time. Sin is not the linchpin. It can't be, because if thou shalt not kill is the linchpin, and you go against that sin, that law, and that's not a universal law. It has nothing to do. It has which tells me that what? It has nothing to do with the Most High. It's because it's not universal law. It's written on your heart, just like the Bible. It's written on your heart. You don't harm other people. You don't harm the earth. You don't harm. It's in Mayat. I don't speak against other altars. I don't do this. Whatever your spiritual belief is, I don't go against it. It's Mayat. It's those 42 principles, those 42 negative confessions that really rule your heart, because that's your nature. Because our ancestors studied our nature. They know what our nature is. So if you do things that are against your nature, okay, they called it sin. But it was never about judgmental things. It was never about judgment. That's why you weigh your feather against the heart, your heart against a feather, because there's no way your heart is ever going to be lighter than a feather. It's something that you strive for, but you cannot achieve. It's something that you want to possess, but you can never possess it fully. So you work at it every day. That's how come indigenous people of the earth, they don't kill and destroy animals. They don't go out and just randomly hunt animals, for sport. They don't randomly pollute the water or the air or anything, or anything that would damage the earth. But people that are not spiritually grounded or spiritually rooted, they don't care. That's how come you can repeal all the clean air laws, and you could dig stuff up, and you could move things around and everything. Just like I went on the reservation like a couple of weeks ago, and we were riding, and I just looked, and my son was looking at how the rows of crops were planted. Like, and from one angle you look at them, and it looks like it's just a jungle, and then you look at it from the other angle, and it's in like perfect symmetry. But that's love. That's love. And then all of that stuff was taught to the Caucasian and to the European by the indigenous. They couldn't even eat. So the law of universal oneness, just knowing that everything that you do is going to affect somebody else. And that's why, the most heinous, most horrific thing that ever happened in the history of the earth is chattel slavery against Africans coming to the Americans. Pay us, give us money so we can catch up. Y'all had a 400-year head start. Y'all owe us that. Fastest 15 minutes is up. My name is Judson Powell. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the share button, hit the notification button, hit all the buttons for me. But most of all, hit the love button. Love one another.